Hello everyone, starting with Python Pandas data frame session 2. So in session 1 we have already learned how to create data frames, what are the different attributes of data frames. So as per our CBSE curriculum, we are starting with this second section, iteration, operation on rows and columns, add, select, delete or rename rows and columns, head and tail function, and indexing using labels. So today we are covering this topic. Now after today's class, you will able to understand iteration in data frames, that how can we access the data row wise or column wise. We even able to add, delete rows and columns in a data frame. We will select and rename the row and column indexes also, and select means random select from my data frame, either some of the columns or some of the row if we want to extract, that we also do. Then working with the head and tail functions with their syntaxes, how can we use them in a program, we will learn. And indexing using labels. So with the help of LOC functions, how can we access the various data from my data frame, that is also to be learned. And row and column positions also, that is with the help of ILOC. And finally modifying data values in a data frame, that we can edit or we can change already stored data in the data frames. So let's start with today's lesson by iteration in data frames. Now iterations means accessing or retrieving each record one by one. So that means either we are using it row wise or we are using it column wise. For row wise there is a function given to us, iter rows. So what this function is doing, this function is actually iterating the data frame row wise. So taking a row index, picking up all the values of that row index under the column. Under that column, one by one, all the values are to be picked, different columns, and then that is to be displayed using the series. So row index will pick up the row index value and series will get all the data which is stored on that row index. Similarly, for column wise accessing, we are having iter items. Here this method is actually iterating over data frames column wise. That means we will take out the vertical subset of the data frame. So that is again taken with the help of call index. It will take each column index and what all stored under that index for various rows are to be stored in series. Now let's see how it will do through this program. Now if you see, we are creating a data frame here using a nested dictionary of showing the sales of 4 quarters of 3 years. So these years 2017, 18, 19 are the outer keys of my dictionary, and quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4 are the inner keys. So we are making the data frame. Already we learned how to create a data frame. Now coming to this accessing part, we are writing here for row series in df iter rows. So this method extract each row, storing the row index in row variable here and the value inside this row under the row series. It will create a series and storing it here. Then when we print this row and row series, it will display as the results. Let's see, we are finding the data record by record, what output comes. So if you see in this data frame will result me this whole structure. These outer keys are my column headings and the inner keys are my quarters. These are the row headings. So when we have done this row index row first time, so first time my row index is quarter 1. You will see here row index is quarter 1. Then it will display row series. Row series means all the data under quarter 1. So all the data under quarter 1 is year 2017 data, 18 data, 19 data. So it will display me all these 3 years data over here. Similarly for quarter 2, it is showing me all the entries. Similarly for quarter 3, it is showing me the entries, and then quarter 4 it is showing me the entries. So it is actually accessing the records row by row, going every row, taking up the row index and then displaying all the values under that row. Moving, how do we do it column wise? Using the iter items function. Again the same code is there. We are creating a dictionary, nested dictionary, and from there we are creating a data frame using this pd.data frame. And now coming to this part, for call series and DF ITR items. This method will pick up a column index, storing the values of column index in the call series, this variable, in format of a series, and once we will print it, again we are getting column wise accessing of the data. Let's see. So it is presenting the data frame column wise. So again, if you see here, this data frame is displayed. This is my complete data frame, and when we are doing column index call, so the first column index here is 2017. This 2017 is picked up. This is my first column index. Then all the values, all the quarter values under this is to be displayed first. And since we are doing it through a for statement, so it again goes to the next column index. Then it will pick up that index value and showing all the quarters under that, all the rows data under that. Similarly, my third column heading and all the data, this is 2019, and all the data under this column heading. So this way we are getting the access to the records column wise. Now addition of columns. To add a new column in my data frame, there are various methods. The first method is we simply write a new column label name with a list to my data frame object and assigning a list of series to it, a list or a series in it. Let's see how we'll do. So the first section is only we are creating a data frame. This is again from a dictionary of lists. So we are having three keys: name, physics, chemistry, having three students data, Anuj, Faria, Lakshya, and their marks stored in this. And pd.data frame, using this method we are converting this data, and row indexes I am keeping as S1, S2, S3, then printing my data frame. So this structure actually we are taking throughout this session for using our various operation to add, delete columns or rows. Now starting with the method 1, what we are doing actually, look over here. We have started DF math. This is a new label, column label we have given, and series of list we have given to assign the values. And once we print this, let's see what comes up. So if you see here, this DF maths, a new column is added and the values are 85, 76, 79. So once a new, already we are having name, physics and chemistry in my data frame, it already exists here, and now a new column math is added with the values 85, 76 and 79. So this is the first method we are adding. Now moving on to the next method. The second method we are using actually LOC or AT attribute. This LOC we just touched in session 1. Now here we find it in, it's working in detail. So what we are doing for this, we simply write df.loc, then because we are writing the marks for every row, so this is a slice we have stored here, empty slice operator for all the rows to be considered, and this is the new column name we have written. CS is the new column name and the values stored are 97, 92, 80. So whenever we print this data frame, if you see, we have already added maths. Now a new column CS is being added here with the values 97, 92, 80. Now next method, a new column is also added with the help of assign function. So let's see how this function works. Now it will modify our data frame, same data frame we are making changes. So we have written here df.assign English 79, 85, 88. So English is my new column name, column label, and English is equals to, these are the 3 marks for 3 students. So let's see what is my output. See here, we have added maths, we have added CS, and now English is added with the values 79, 85, 88. Now there is one more method to add a column by using the already existing columns. So that we have to do by using some arithmetic operations on the rows. We will see this structure only. We have added all the marks over here. Now we want to add a new column total. So to add a new column total, we define the df total. Inside list we are defining a new column label and picking up all the labels from the data frame and putting plus operator in them, because we want to add all the subjects marks and result will be stored in total. So when we print df, we find over here this total is being printed. Now if you see, this physics marks chemistry marks, maths, CS and English. So all these marks means 90, 80, 85, 97, 79. We take out, extracted these marks and added them all using this plus operator, and finally we get a total. So once we print the data frame, my one more column is being added, that is by the name total. Now we are deleting the columns. To delete a column, again we have various methods. The first method is del. We are using the del keyword and simply passing a series. So the entire content of that particular column is deleted. So this first section is only creation of data frame. We are not repeating it again. Now coming to method 1. We have given here del TF physics. So this is the label we have passed. This is a column label we are passing. So the complete physics column is being deleted from my data frame. If you see, we are having, this is my original data frame, name, physics and chemistry are lying here, but after deletion I am having only name and chemistry. That means this complete vertical subset, that the physics column is being deleted here. Now second method, we are using the pop function. This pop function will extract again a particular column that we want to delete. So we have to specify that column label over here, like we have written df.pop name. If you see, this pop function always gives me the deleted values to be stored somewhere. So we have taken a variable call, an object call, where we are storing the names which are to be deleted from my data frame. We display that deleted column also, as well as my data frame also after deletion. Let's see. So if we will see here, my original data frame is having name, physics and chemistry. Now once we have written this command pop name, so it has deleted that name column from here. So in call variable, when we have displayed this deleted column, in this it is only showing me the name. This is the row indexes and only names are shown over here. Then because we have deleted name. And after deletion, since name is being deleted, we left with physics and chemistry marks. So my data frame is now having this kind of structure. Now deletion is also done with the help of drop function. And here to access my column values, we have to write down access is equals to 1. We learned it earlier also that access 1 shows columns. So the first section, again the creation of data frame. Now coming to the method to delete. So how can we write this? We write down the df.drop data frame drop function, and chemistry column we are deleting, and access 1 means it is the column label. This chem is a column label and my data frame is being updated after deleting this chemistry label. So similarly, there is one more syntax with the drop, that we can directly give the column parameter equals to, in the list you will assign the column name. So we can even assign the multiple column names here to the deletion part. And after the deletion, if we'll see, the structure of my data frame is this. Now if you see here, original data frame is having name, physics and chemistry, but once this command is being executed, df.drop chemistry, so chemistry is deleted now. So after this, we are having only 2, name and physics. And after that again we have written df.drop column name, so name is again deleted from this, so we only left with the physics marks. So this way we are doing the deletion in my data frame. Now coming to the rows, when you want to add the rows, we are having a function append. So to append the data, append means adding at the end. We simply write down, we have created, there is a data frame with us, pd.dataframe 1, 2, 3, 4, and column labels we have specified as AB. This is for showing the continuation of this line, this slash sign here. Similarly, data frame 2, we have written 5, 6, 7, 8, created a data frame from the nested list, and again storing it in the same column labels A and B. Now what we are doing here, df.append df2, that means to my first data frame, the second data frame is being added at the end. So we will see what happened in the output section. Now there is other way to do this. If we are not specifying any parameter with this append function, then it will take the indexes of the data frame which I am adding automatically. So whatever be the index with this df2 that is being taken here. But here we have written ignore index equals to true. So this parameter will ignoring the index and it will regenerate the index again. Now there is third method to use this append function again. For column A we are storing 10, for column B we are storing 20, and again ignore index is equals to true. Then printing this updated data frame, let's see what happens here. Now if you will see, then this df.append df2, what it does, it simply edit these data frame. This is my data frame 1, this is my data frame 2. So data frame 2 is being added after data frame 1 because it is append means added at the end. After that what we have done, after addition this data frame comes up. Then df.append df2 ignore index true. Now we have added again df2 below this. So already this structure is my df now and df2 is being added. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is my df. This is df2 is added over here. Now see this ignore index true, what it does. Earlier it is taking the indexes 0, 1 here and 0, 1 here because we have not specified the index parameter for index here. So it is taking the indexes of their own data frames. But here when I have written ignore index true, automatically these indexes of my new data frame is regenerated because it is ignoring the indexes of the data frame what they are carrying with them. Similarly, when we have added A10 and B20, this last value it is added at the end again, and again we have written ignore index true, so the last index is 6 over here. So ignore index will store a value, boolean value. By default it is always false because it is carrying the indexes of the earlier data frames, but we have to change it to true when we want to regenerate the index labels. There is other method to delete rows also in data frames. Same method we have used for columns, drop. Now drop is to delete the rows in a data label, and if there are the duplicate row keys, then it will delete all the entries according to that particular label. Let's see. Now this first section is again creation of my data frame. We have added the data frame 2 below data frame 1. Now I want to delete all those rows which are having label 0. So what we does here, we simply df.drop 0. What we do here, we simply write df.drop 0 means the row with label 0 is being deleted. So when we see the result, we will see here in my original data frame we are having the indexes 0, 1, 0, 1. Okay, and once we have written df drop 0, so this 0 label, that means this is with my 0 label and this is with my 0 label, both are deleted. So we left with only 3, 4 and we left with only 7, 8. So that is my result over here. This is my index, row index 1 and 1, and 3, 4, 7, 8 is my entry over there. So this way we are deleting a particular row label from the data frame. Now coming to the deletion of rows, there is one more method that instead of using the label, we are using their positional index. So positional index means, if you will see, this is my data frame, then positional index means this is at column 0, this is at column 1, this is at column 2. Similarly, this is my row 0, this is the positional index, this is 1 and this is 2. So what we have done, we have written here df drop df dot index 1. We have passed the first index value. First index value means this S2, Fareha 7791. So this data is being deleted. So after the deletion we will find only S1 and S3 are left. So this is the other method to use the drop function. Now there is one more method. We can do the multiple deletion of rows with the help of drop again. So here we are writing again all those row indexes inside a list. So once you specify the list here, we are dropping S1 and S3 here. So this S1 and S3 means we are not deleting this S1 Anuj and S3 is Laksh. So only S2 Farya's record is being left. Let's see the output. So after deletion we have only S2 Farya. So these are the different ways to use the drop function. Now renaming a column or a row. The same function rename is used to changing the name of any row index or column index. Let's see how we will perform this. So this is again our previous data frame which we have used. We are having 3 keys, name, physics and chemistry, means 3 columns, and indexes are S1, S2, S3. Now to change the column labels, we have given PHY, Chem and name. Now I want to change PHY as physics and Chem as chemistry. So multiple entries I want to change. So we simply write df.rename. Under this we are passing a argument, passing a parameter columns equals to, and with the help of dictionary we are changing it. So you will write the previous name of the column label and the new name of column label. And here you will see we have written in place true. In place true means we are making the changes in that place itself. In that place itself means in that data frame itself. So we are not storing the result inside a new data frame. We are making modifications in that data frame only because of this in place true. Now printing this df. For changing row labels, same syntax, but what changes we are doing, instead of column parameter we have to specify the index parameter, because index is used for row indexes. So again the index is S1, earlier we change it to stud1, and S3 we change it to student 3. Let's see the output of this. Now see here, this physics is replaced by physics. So we are having PHY earlier in my data frame, which is replaced by physics. Then we have changed chemistry, Chem as chemistry. So here again we will see this Chem column is changed as chemistry. And if you will see row indexes, we have done df.rename. Index S1 is as student 1. So instead of S1 we are having now student 1, and instead of S3 we are having student 3. S2 remains as it is because we have not changed it. So this way we are renaming our column indexes or row indexes. And in place true I have told already that it is making the changes then and there only. There is one more method to rename a column, that is by data frame dot columns. Okay, this is again method and we are passing the list. But here using this column syntax we can only change or rename only one column at a time, and rows are not to be modified using this syntax, not renamed using this syntax. Now coming to head and tail functions, as we are aware of that if we want to extract a small sample of data from a data frame, we will use this head and tail functions. Now head n will return me first n rows, as head is top. Okay, and default, if we are not specifying any n value here, it will show me 5 records. And tail n will the bottom 5 records, last n rows, and if n is again not specified here, then last 5 records. So the syntax is here, we are writing df.head. It will show me, I am not passing any argument value here, so it is showing the first 5 records, but if you specify head 2, it will show first 2 records. Similarly for my tail, if I have written df.tail, it shows me the last 5 records, but when I specify df.tail2, it only displays the last 2 records. Let's see through the programming example. So this is the way we are creating a data frame. I'm showing first 5 records. That means this is my df is my data frame object. So we simply write df.head and no arguments are being passed. When last 5 records, we are simply writing df.tail and no arguments to be passed. So last 5 records. But if you want to show first 2 records, you will write head 2. If we want to show last 2 records, we will write tail 2. Let's see what is my output here. So if you see this head function, this df will show me the complete data frame. This head function will show me this first 5 records. So if you see, we are having actually 6 entries here, S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, S6, and here we are getting only S1 to S5. The first 5 records, then tail show me last 5 records. So last 5 records means S2 will not be displayed here, S1 will not be displayed here, S2 onwards, we will find the data from S2 onwards. Then head 2 is showing me the 2 records. So S1 and S2 only first 2 records, and tail 2 shows the last 2 records. So last 2 records is S5 and S6. So it shows me S5 and S6. So this is when we are getting some small amount of data from my data frame, we can take direct help from the head and tail functions. Now coming to the indexing and selecting data. Now this is very important because indexing is actually in pandas simply means that we are accessing a particular row or column. We simply select some particular row and column for display. So it might be you are selecting all rows, some of the columns, or some of the rows, all of the columns, or some of each of the rows and columns both. So let's see one by one. And this is also known as subset selection. If you find out this term subset selection, it also means that we are selecting some particular rows and columns from my data frame. So indexing with index operator, the first thing we are directly using this operator, that is my list operator, to do the indexing. So first section is telling me data frame creation, now column selection. See what we are doing, we are writing data1 is equals to df physics. This is my column label, we simply pass inside using this operator. This operator is actually known as index operator and the data is stored inside data1. This data1 is a new object where the result of only physics column is being extracted and stored inside data1. So once we are printing data1, only physics entries are being visible. Similarly, we can select the random columns also, and there we are putting up a nested list. So if you see the inside this operator, we are putting a list of labels. So list of labels, I want to display name and chemistry boards, and that is to be stored in data2 object. Now see the output here. So we are having, the first is physics we selected here. So only physics data is stored. When we display data1, it shows me that, and once we are displaying data2, it shows me both name and chemistry. So it is by using the simple our indexing operator to display the data, extract the data. Now indexing with row labels or column labels, that is the LOC function helps me to access my row and column labels, and through this LOC function we can access the data, a single data also, or we can access the list of data also, list of labels I can also pass as arguments. I can even pass a slice object over there, and an array also we can pass, boolean array also we can pass over there. So this is a general syntax df.lock. This LOC function df.lock, start row, slice, end row. So here we are using, this is for extracting the row part, and start column, slice operator, end column, this is for accessing the column part. And one thing important which you have to keep in your mind, that whenever we are using LOC, this is on contrary to my normal Python slicing, that in Python slicing generally we drop the stop value. We are not including the stop value, but in this case we are with the LOC function, we are including the stop value also. Let's see through the programming example here. We have created two series here. One series is having the name of the subjects, where indexes are given by the names of students. The other series is having the classes. Again, the indexes is given by the student's name as specified in the previous series. Now using this series, we are making a dictionary. So my dictionary keys are subject and classes, and I have stored this S and T, both the series, in my dictionary. Now again changing this dictionary to data frame and accessing the data now one by one. If you see df.loc, we only put the empty slices over here. So first slicing is for row, the second slicing is for column. So means we are including, when we are not specifying start and stop with the slicing operator, that means all data. So we are taking all the data of rows as well as of all the data of columns. That means the complete data frame I want to print here. Then whenever we want to access the individual row, so we simply write df.loc and any row index value. So if I want to extract Mithi's data, so I simply pass on Mithi label there, that is my row label which I write here. So here I have not specified column values, even you can write colon and simple the blank slicing operator here, because we are including all the columns. Similarly, to access multiple rows, you will specify using the slicing from where to start, from where to stop, and then in column again the empty slicing operator. And if I have written only colon Rajat, that means from the beginning till Rajat all the records are to be displayed. Let's see. And here we have specified Rajat colon and nothing is displayed, means Rajat onwards till end all the records are to be displayed. And this column slicing we can write, or it is optional, we can write or we don't write. Both ways it will give me the same answer. So let's see what output we are getting from this now. Now this LOC colon colon will display me the complete data frame. So all columns, these are 2 columns, subject and classes, and these are the 4 indexes which we have created for student name Mithi, Rajat, Lucky and Nagma. Then when we are writing accessing a single row, that is only df.lock Mithi, means Mithi's record is only being extracted. So this, so once Mithi's record is extracted means we are taking subject as physics and class as 11th A. So this is my answer. Subject and classes are displayed for Mithi only. So 1 row. When you are extracting the multiple rows, so starting from Mithi till Rajat. So Mithi and Rajat means first 2 records starting from Mithi till Rajat. So we are having 2 records in the output here. This is the output for this. Now coming to DF LOC from the beginning till Rajat. Again from the beginning till Rajat means 2 records only, Mithi's and Rajat record. So this is what we are having from the beginning till Rajat. And when you are saying in last, from Rajat LOC, location from Rajat till end, so this Rajat onward there are 3 records, Rajat, Lucky and Nagma. So it will display me all the records Rajat, Lucky and Nagma. So this way we are accessing the rows using the LOC function. Now let's see how to access columns with the help of this LOC function. The first section again showing those 2 series, converting it to dictionary and then data frame. Now here again we are writing the empty slicing, means the same output, we are getting the complete data frame. Now when you access a particular column, this row slicing be left blank. Because we are including all the rows, we want to display all the rows and the subject. Only subject column we want to display. Then multiple columns. So again you are writing the slicing operator from subject colon, we are not specifying any AND value, that means from subject onwards all the columns. And when we want to access some of the rows, some of the columns, we write here from Rajat to Lucky all the data and from subject to classes all the columns. Let's see the output of this. And if we want to access only a particular value, so you will write down in the column variable that particular value Rajat, and whichever column values you want to extract, like for this I want to know Rajat class. So I simply write Rajat and in column section I only write classes. So let's see what output we are getting here. See, this is displaying me the complete data frame. This LOC colon subject. So all the rows but only subject column. So there are 2 columns with my data frame, subject and classes, but here I will only find out 1 column subject. Then this is all the rows from subject onwards all the columns. So we are having only 2 columns here. So it is displaying me subject as well as class, both the columns for all the rows. Then here extracting some of the rows, some of the columns means Rajat and Lucky's record. So Rajat and Lucky's record means these 2, and subject to classes means again we are having this data. So if you find, this is the output for Rajat, Lucky, and both subject and classes are being shown for Rajat and Lucky. Then last value we are entering a single data. So this single data we are taking up Rajat class. So if we will see, here is my Rajat and inside class it is 11th B. So whenever we want to access a single value, we can directly write inside this location function Rajat, and that means single row index and single column index. So it will show me that single value, that is 11th P is extracted. Now moving further, we want to index the rows with the help of rows and column position. So earlier we are doing with the names, labels, row and column labels. So we have used LOC. This ILOC is index integer location. I stand for integer. So we are actually taking the physical indexes. Where which position? The syntax is similar to LOC only. We are having the row indexes first and then the column indexes, and that is to be passed as the list here. Now in this case the end indexes are excluded. Now here again we are on our normal Python slicing concept, that the last value of the slicing is not be included. Let's see the programming example here. Again we are creating a data frame here using a nested list. So passing on 2 values, 90A, this is the marks, this is the grade, and index we are taking over here as excellent, very good, good and average. So since we are entering 4 criteria here, 4 lists here. So 4 indexes we created. Printing the data frame. Now if you want to print the whole data frame, again same ILOC we pass and only empty slices we are passing, no rows and columns to be specified. But once you specified 1:3 means row 1, this 1 is the index value and 3 is also the index value. So indexes begins from 0 onwards. So 0, 1, 2, 3 means second row onwards we will go till 3, but third is excluded here. Okay, let's see the output. Now ILOC, if we are writing 2:3 1 means 1 onwards all the columns. So we are dropping here column number 0 means first column is not to be considered. Okay, and if I have written here ::(-1), this is for row we are writing. So when we are again the same slicing concept of Python, we are not specifying start, we are not specifying stop, we are specifying step. Step is -1. That means in the reverse order I am having my records to be displayed. Let's see the output over here and try to understand what we are getting. Now this is the complete data frame to be printed. So if you see in the data frame we have created 4 indexes, row indexes, they are coming up here, excellent, very good, good, average. We have created marks and grade, 2 columns here, they are coming up here, marks and grades, and all the values which we are passing through the nested list is to be stored inside this data frame. Okay, now coming to this section, ILOC 1:3. Okay, so if we will see, this is my 0 index, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. Similarly, when we talk about column, this is column number 0, this is column number 1. So we have written 1:3 for rows we are talking about. So this is 1, 2, 3 from very good till average. And all the columns, so we are displaying all the columns. Now here we are dropping this average. Okay, because we have written 1:3, the stop value should not be included. So once we talk about, so this data frame actually printed twice. Print DF is printing this and this LOC is printing. This is again my original data frame only. So this we will here printing 1 and 2 only because it is 1 till 3. So the third index is being dropped here. So 1 and 2 we are printing here. Very good and good. Okay, now coming to the next LOC 2:3. So 2:3 means the stop value is not included. So 3 is not included here. We only talk about 2. So from this we are getting the output good, and we have written 1:. So 1: means even you are not considering your the 0th column. So this 0th column is also not being considered. So that is why we only having the grade column. So good C is my output. And here we have taken the step value. So you will see we are having the output reversed. Here we are our output is excellent, very good, good and average. This is my output. But if you see, it is otherwise here. It is here average, good, very good and excellent. So in the reverse order we are printing the rows. This way we are accessing my rows with the column indexes. Rows indexes, positional indexes. Now modifying the values inside a data frame. To modify the value inside a data frame, first of all we create a data frame again with the help of dictionary of lists, and then DF physics. If you see, for a column physics we have stored here 90. That means for all the row entries for this physics column, every entry is now converted to 90. So that we have to take care that whether we want to modify some particular cell or the whole column. So here it is actually changing the whole column data to 90. Now to change a row with a help of ACT. So if we have written df.at, again we are using a slicing for row here and comma, this is my column value. So column for student S1 in physics we are changing 85. So S1 to S1 we are writing. So only first student we are considering, for first student we are changing. Now changing rows with LOC. Similarly for LOC function also, in AT we have to specify this slicing, but in LOC we are writing it inside the list. So student 2 we are changing physics marks as 95 with the help of LOC function, and changing a single value, you simply write df dot column name and that row index. So column label and with column label index value if we are specifying, that means for student 2 chemistry marks are changed as 85. Let's see what answers we are getting over here. Now if you see physics 90, so all the marks are changed to 90 here. After this statement, if I print my data frame, all the marks are changed to 90. Here using S1 at operator for student 1 S1, we have changed physics marks as 85. So this is my S1, these are the physics marks. So if you see, we have entered here 85. Okay, now see, if for S2 physics we are changing 95, so this is my S2 and this is my physics marks. So S2 here it is 95, so modified this marks of S2 student 2 in physics we are changing it to 95. Similarly in chemistry student 2 marks we have changed to 85. So student 2 in chemistry, earlier it was 91, now we changed it to 85. So this way we can modify the data frames value. So this is all for the day in session 2. Now these are certain resources. If you want to see some more examples or some more details, you can go to these links. Thank you for your patience to watch this.